I'm here with City Council District 6. We've got Roland Rainey Jr. You've been in the role for a few months now, sir. I just want to start with the basics. Those few months, what are your big takeaways, being new to this role that you want the public to know about?
Well, thank you for having me. And the biggest takeaway is how complex our city really is. Everything that you look at from public safety to public works and public parks, but also utilities, public utilities, the significant role being not just a council member, but being on the board of utilities is very unique because now you're learning about natural gas and water. So it's a lot to take in, but it's been definitely an educational journey.
During our forum with Allison, you had mentioned utilities. You got cut off because of time, but you said that you were thinking the idea of maybe even more specialized boards. Do you recall making that comment a bit ago, just kind of adding two utilities? And what would you like to do to adjust and make the utilities a bit better?
Well, currently we have committees like the UPAC that take on special topics and do a lot of research. I would like to see that expanded. I would like to see us maybe get a couple of more committees and be very specialized in water, in natural gas, or any other specialized topics that may take a little bit of the burden off of our utilities, but also allow some of our citizens to get a lot more involved.
Since campaigning, has anything changed for you? Again, it's very different once you get into the seat. Any vision changes, anything that you may have brought up at the time that you're changing your mind on?
No changes, no significant changes at all. Public safety is still my number one priority. We have to make sure that our law enforcement has the proper resources and budget so they can actually do the job that we as citizens need them to do so we can live safe and prosperous lives here in Colorado Springs. Also, our fire department, we need to make sure that we keep their apparatus up to date, keep them modernized, make sure their staffing is up to par so they can actually take care of our city also. So that number one priority will always be there for me. Infrastructure has taken on a brighter light for me. I continue to look at our roads, and our roads are horrible. We got to do better in that arena. So I'm very much looking forward to working closely with Public Works and seeing what can we do to really get after these potholes. I listen to constituents all the time. Potholes, potholes, potholes. We got to find better ways to, and a better system. Currently, we have a great app that a lot of people can go out and log onto that app and put the destination of a particular, maybe a nasty pothole in their community, which I think is great. How does that translate over to the maintenance log within Public Works? That is something I think we got to get after and educate our community on that. And I will say the one thing I think we do need to tweak a little bit is one of my priorities, and that is keeping U.S. Space Command here. We need to make sure our messaging is on point, but also we need to make sure it's very clear. Look, Colorado Springs is the space operations mecca. So whether U.S. Space Command stays here or if the president so decides to move it, space operations will always thrive right here in Colorado Springs.
I want to go back to the talk public safety, potholes, things that we hear. It doesn't matter what year it is. Those are top priorities. But bit tough with the budget right now. How do you feel the budget's being handled? And when it comes down to, we'll start with potholes. The mayor had even mentioned they're going to get filled. It might be a little bit slower though. What can be done other than a new app? You had mentioned kind of changing the inner workings of that, but specifically, is there something that jumps out to you as to why it might be a little slower than what it could be?
Well, right now, as you mentioned, the budget is under a major constraint. We have $11 million shortfall that we're working very hard to make sure that we can deliver the city a balanced budget. But I do think, putting some more manpower in Public Works could potentially help get after some of these pothole issues. I do know that those folks work very hard around the city. As we continue to grow and expand, they are stretched thin. So I do know there are some efforts to potentially get more manpower there to help them out. But in doing so, we also have to be very strategic from a logistics perspective on where are the main areas that we need to get after first from a prioritization standpoint. and then maybe there's some of the smaller potholes within neighborhoods, start getting after those also. But we need to start really working the logistics of how to map out the main areas down to the small neighborhoods.
And then, of course, public safety. Same thing. Council members, mayor agree public safety is a top priority, but you're dealing with those budget constraints. How would you describe the state of crime in District 6, kind of the Stetson Hills area, your part of town?
Well, the state of crime in District 6, because we're in the northeast area, it's not like maybe other areas in the city. I have seen an uptick in, let's say, petty crimes, petty larceny, car thefts, and a lot of that we definitely have to get after. We have to make sure that we're providing our chief of police the necessary support and resources, especially from a manpower perspective. One of the things that I tend to highlight is, when we were a city of 400,000 personnel, it was okay to say, hey, our end strength was going to be 839. But that's not who we are anymore. Our city has grown tremendously. So our manpower, much like other cities our size, needs to grow. And I think that's something we have to really support our chief of police and the mayor to make sure that we can provide the staffing to actually support our communities.
So we talked about crime, police. Now let's talk fire department. Again, budget constraints. Even asking the mayor directly, what's the future look like when it comes to Fire Station 20 getting fully staffed? We're told that at this time staffing levels are okay, but what about the future? What if we're losing firefighters? What do you have to say to your constituents about staffing levels for the fire department?
Much like the police department, the same thing applies with our fire department. We want to make sure as we continue to grow as a city, I know there's thoughts out there about how we should grow, smart growth, but people want to move here. They love what Colorado Springs is about, especially when you talk about building a family and a great community. But in order to do that, you have to have the support of our police department and our fire department. Specifically with the fire department, we have to make sure that not just the staffing, but the apparatuses that they use, the equipment, a lot of the equipment, some of the machinery, some of the trucks, you're talking about 20 plus years old. They need modernized, up-to-date equipment so they can be efficient to responding to emergency situations. So I would say to the constituents, as we continue to grow, really think through, is our police force, is our fire department at the appropriate level it needs to be in order to support a city our size?
Yeah, I heard the word grow a lot there. And of course, your district, the fastest growing. I know that you just had a town hall. Business is top of mind for you, outside of public safety, of course. But when it comes to business and growth, how do you feel District 6 is doing right now? What major changes are you hoping the city could make?
District 6 is growing fast, as you already mentioned. One, we're already the largest district in Colorado Springs. Our population is the largest in Colorado Springs, and we continue to expand, especially eastward. One of the things I think is very exciting is the expansion of Mark Shuffle and then going into the Banning Lewis Parkway area. Also Dublin, expanding in certain areas from 2 lanes to 4 lanes. The reason why I'm excited about that is because flow of traffic. I think people here, as we continue to grow, they're getting a little frustrated with traffic. If you try to drive down Powers between 3 and 5, it could be an adventure. Definitely you want to plan accordingly. But I do believe expanding Dublin, expanding Mark Shuffle will allow better flow of traffic around District 6. As we continue to grow, I think people are going to see more housing, affordable housing in the region, but also businesses. I think you're going to see some businesses come to the region. Right now, we have a business that is investing in a District 6 and is going to bring 250 jobs. That is something that's going to be huge for our district. So for all the constituents out there, definitely keep your eye out for that. Get those resumes ready because there's going to be some jobs available.
I'll have to go digging through the agenda on that. Has this been on the agenda recently and I may have missed it?
It was on the agenda. So a lot more to come from that. If you're driving down Powers between Dublin and Woodman, you may see some construction on the right-hand side. So just keep an eye out for that.
Gives me everything I need to look into that. The town halls, I want to talk about that. 2 down. You promise that's a big thing for you. You want to connect with the constituents. How have those gone? What have you taken away from them? Maybe there were some questions asked at the town hall that our viewers didn't hear the answers to. Just talk about that.
Yes, as I mentioned during my campaign, town halls were important to me. I didn't care if it was 1 or 200 that come to a town hall. I wanted to make myself available to constituents, and I wanted to make sure that what is happening on city council is translating out to the community. So I promised to do one in the first 60 days. I actually did it in the first 45 days. And then I just did another one. My goal is to have a recurring quarterly town hall. Some of those town halls will be online to get more people involved, because I know people work. They can't always come in person to a town hall. So we're going to do a mix up of in person and online. I would say some of the questions that the constituents are bringing up is utilities, wanting to make sure that their rates are not increasing. Some other comments in regards to growth, of course. Growth is on everyone's mind right now. I think what people are seeing around the city is that as we continue to expand, how are we properly managing that? And more importantly, housing. There's a difference between affordable housing and available housing. And a lot of people want to make sure that we as a city are being very smart in our decision making on making sure that proper housing is going in the proper areas. So those are things that were on the constituents' mind during the town halls.
Perfect. Only a few more questions, sir. Anything of positive light that maybe in your volunteer efforts or something constituent has done that you'd like to give a shout out to that hasn't made media coverage, but you'd like to highlight?
No, actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. Look, we have some great, phenomenal people in our community. One of the constituents I would like to highlight is Stacy Lane. She's a teacher. She is in the district, and she's doing some phenomenal things. She was just recognized with an award for her efforts, and those are the type of people in our community that makes Colorado Springs special. So a special shout out to Stacy Lane.
Is she with Banning Lewis Academy or
No,
Stacy Lane?
actually, she's with District 11.
District 11. I'll have to look into that and actually do a bit more because I appreciate you. That those are the types of things I'm looking for, and I'll make sure to get her a shout out next week. I want to make sure that I didn't miss anything from my list. But one of the questions I always like to get out there: anything that I didn't touch on that you wanted to add?
The one thing I do want to add is something that's being re-energized right now, and that's our Sister City program. We had the opportunity most recently to host a delegation of students from one of our sister cities in Japan. Most recently, we were able to work with the Colorado Springs World Affairs Council, and we hosted a delegation from the European Union and NATO. Those are things that keeps Colorado Springs a globally vibrant city. We want to make sure those relationships stay intact. We want to make sure that we show the entire country that Colorado Springs is definitely morphing into a city that has significant global impacts.
Any future international trips on your end to those sister cities?
I hope so, but we got to get the budget taken care of first. Let's get the budget taken care of, and then we can talk about trips.
Hey, that is fair, sir. Let me just check.